future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Welcome to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kellee White.
Two perspectives, one world.
This is Both Sides Now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm Dr. Shirley.
And I'm medium Kellee White.
And welcome to Both Sides Now. So, hi, John.
Hey,
Engineer
hey.
John is
Happy
here.
to see you.
Happy Sunday.
Yes.
And we have a wonderful Tony helping us with Periscope, and which I don't understand, but, you know, it's good. Hi. So today we are going to tackle marriage.
Our favorite topic.
Yeah. Which to some people, you know, all of a sudden, you know, draws this image of, you know, getting
Kaboomed.
Yeah. What is it from the news? To other people, it brings up a lot of warmness and happy feelings and connection. And so it goes the whole gamut.
It really does go the whole gamut.
Yeah.
I think before we start with marriage, let's talk about what the energy that's going on right now.
Because it's been crazy.
Hasn't it been crazy?
Yeah.
And I know that every time we do a show, it seems like there's all kinds of always some topic about the astrological situation.
I think it's good to let people know,
But
though.
it is
And
good to let
I
them
learned,
know.
too, because I know nothing of it.
Right.
So.
Well, I don't know if everybody out there, but I can say for myself and all my clients that I've been dealing with, and I think I speak for you and probably you, John, that it's been very, very chaotic.
It has.
Extremely chaotic, intense. It almost feels like being squeezed by a python. I mean, it's just a very intense energy right now. We have a mutable grand cross this week. So what's a grand cross?
Yeah.
It is when four planets line up to form a pattern of a cross.
Oh.
And it means a time of great change, healing, transformation. So these are all good things. You think, oh, this is great, you know. I don't know. Going through them, the process of change, the process of transformation.
It can sometimes be really tough.
Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And these signs, it's a mutable time. So these signs are mutable.
What does that mean,
Oh,
mutable?
I'll tell you. It makes it a bit easier on some ways. It means that the energy will actually go with the flow.
Think of like water and how it can be in various different states. Like
Oh, okay.
steam.
So it kind of adapts?
Yeah, steam,
yes.
ice. Or,
That's actually the
yeah.
key word you just said is adaptability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, just go with the flow. So you have to move. Okay, all right. So the relationship's not working out. Okay. In other words, don't try to stop it. Don't try to stop this change. Just allow it to happen. This is for our growth. This is why this period is in. And it lasts through June.
Oh, wow.
So you can expect, I would say, great changes. I mean, in my own life, we've had huge changes.
Yeah.
Huge. So, and it's Venus is in Gemini, Saturn is in Sagittarius, Neptune's in Pisces, and Jupiter's in Virgo. So this is, again, for the month of June, and it will require of everybody patience. It's a virtue here. It'll make everybody, you know, on a heightened state of anxiety and being upset. But just keep it, if you can, keep it calm.
Now, you mentioned something about that because of that energy, that's why some people have passed on, like we know Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
may he rest in
I
peace.
was talking to actually James Van Praagh the other night about that after he passed, and I said, you know, James, it would have taken this grand cross to get him out. I mean, really.
Why?
Oh, because it's such a powerful time of transformation, and this man was one of the biggest. How do you even describe him? Biggest energies on the planet of all time.
Oh, wow.
Of
They do
all
call him the
time.
greatest of all time.
I mean, really, it would have had to take a significant time for him to go. So to me, it made sense that it was that time.
and
then,
shortly after Prince's passing, too, and they were close.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Yeah.
were, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on. So this is just a time of great transformation and change.
Okay, so thanks for the warning.
There you go. And it
You know?
kind of leads into the topic of marriage.
There's something so interesting in being prepared for something. It doesn't lessen the feelings that come up, nor should
Okay,
it.
right.
We should not have feelings about it. But it lessens the blow a little bit. Like if you can expect that, and that's what I always say with people, expect the expected. You know, we always hope that people will change, or, you know, and it does fit right into the topic of marriage. We expect to live happily ever after, and we expect things to be great. And Many times they're not.
Well, that's, spiritually, that's not why we come here. I mean, really, it's
come here to learn and grow. I know. I heard you say it over and over.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's funny because
sick of learning and growing.
Aren't you? Aren't you sick
And then
of it?
when that happens, you die. To be honest.
So you get to enjoy life even just a little bit?
There are those moments. I mean, it's all, actually, you can enjoy it at any moment. It's a choice. You can actually enjoy it at any moment.
That's a good point.
But one thing about this June energy is it will give you the awareness. It gives you the awareness. So start paying attention. If you're in a marriage, I mean, we should talk about what marriage means to all of us here.
Yeah.
And, what does the word evoke? Because this is a period of time where you may be questioning your relationship. And by the way, I say marriage, but it could be any relationship. But actually, that's probably not true now that I think about it.
Any partnership?
Marriage, any partnership. But actually, the word marriage takes it to another level.
Well, it
There's
takes
something
it to
about
another
that.
level because there's something psychological about signing that piece of paper.
Yeah.
And everyone says, everyone knows a couple that, well, not everyone, but you've heard of the stories of a couple that were together for like 10 years and then they get married and then they divorce the year after. But while they were a couple without the title of husband-wife, they got, they were able to figure it out. I'm not saying they got, they got along famously, but they were able to figure it out. And there's something about those titles.
Well, it goes back like 250 years. Did you know? Are you aware of that? Something
No.
like that, this whole marriage title thing. And if you think about it, what you're saying is pretty accurate. It used to be like when people got married 250 years ago, and up until modern day, it was, why did you marry this person? Well, they had land. There was a title there. Or the person had a title.
Right.
Or they, they could support you. Or there was a lot of reasons for it. Or this family had to get along with this family.
It seemed like it was, from what you're saying, it was a joint effort for the purpose of something.
Yes.
You
As
know?
opposed to this idea or notion of romantic love.
Right.
It really wasn't
Right.
about that.
Right. Yeah. So, so I guess when you have a shared goal for us to be able to have enough money to procreate and raise our kids and, then, maybe you deal with things differently or you don't take things, as hard as you would. The difficult thing is, we all choose someone for a reason. It's not coincidence at all. And more often than not, it mimics our first attachment, connection with our parents.
So talk about that.
So,
From a psychological
standpoint, we create what's familiar. And there's this wonderful article. I actually posted it on Facebook, and I'm going to read from it. And if you can bring it up, John, it would be great.
Okay.
It says, it was a great article that really kind of, put it in perspective. It says, but though we believe ourselves to be seeking happiness in marriage, it isn't that simple. What we really seek is familiarity, which may well complicate any plans we might have had for happiness. We're looking to recreate within our adult relationships the feelings we knew all too well in childhood. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be happy. It says, how logical then that we should, as grown-ups, find ourselves rejecting certain candidates for marriage, not because they're wrong, but because they're too right.
Oh, wow.
If we had a chaotic childhood and a lot of, abuse and parents that we couldn't depend on, it's almost, I'm not going to say impossible, but almost impossible to choose someone that you could depend on because that's not what's familiar. Even though we can say, this is the kind of person I want. But how many times, at least I've heard it in my practice over and over again, that person that has all those characteristics, I'm just not into him, or I'm not for her. I'm not feeling that kind of animalistic attraction. And for the most part, that animalistic attraction, many times, it's you're tagging into that attachment, the issues. With the unresolved issues.
Is this the Why You Will Marry the Wrong Person article?
Yes,
okay, so
yes.
this is the New York Times. I'll
So-
post it in the comments too.
Yeah,
Okay.
do that because it's a great article. So it says, they might be too right, too balanced, too mature, too understanding and reliable, given that in our hearts such rightness feels foreign. So we marry the wrong people because we don't associate being loved with feeling happy. Because if we haven't experienced that as kids, age doesn't heal trauma. So we're still, if we haven't healed those wounds, we can't choose something totally different. It's almost impossible. I'm not saying it is impossible, but it's so important to heal those wounds because otherwise you will find someone attractive that has those same characteristics.
And then that brings me to, what is a spiritual marriage? Because you talked about animalistic, and that's a real key here because the first three chakras, and really up to the heart chakra, are the lower chakras. And when we choose, usually, first of all, our generations, the younger generations may be slightly different now. Maybe they're a little more open and have a little more awareness. I'd like to hope. But our generations really didn't have much awareness at all.
Yeah.
So we really came in to work on our karmic, our karma, and work on like who did we pick? We picked out of, we actually, before we incarnate, I go back to this. Why would I pick this husband, or why would I pick this relationship? Because it was a situation that I needed help with, and that person needed help with. In the sense, and help meaning, in the sense of maybe if it was an abusive relationship, about learning that I don't need to take abuse anymore. You know, I mean, and I have been in those relationships where I've learned, whoa, now I would know not to do it. But if I hadn't had that experience, I know that I wouldn't have been able to help as many people as I have in this department.
Because you can really relate to
Oh,
it
I
from
really,
that.
I used to think, oh, that
level,
doesn't really happen. Oh, yes, it does. You know,
Yeah.
oh, yes, it does. So, but a spiritual relationship is your higher chakras. That would be like your starting at your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th chakra. And choosing from that arena, it makes all the difference in the world. That really brings about healing and growth. That type of more of a spiritual bond with somebody.
So that's
healing
the
and
crown,
growth.
the third eye.
Yes,
and the
your
throat
heart
chakra and the
your
heart.
yes,
Got it.
your exactly.
Well, and that's, you know, what you're saying, Kelly. I mean, that's the beauty of this. It's, you know, hope isn't all lost if you chose someone who resembles that familiarity, because for the spouse, you resemble the same thing. And so there can be this beautiful kind of working together to heal each other's wounds.
Oh,
Which
absolutely.
can lead to a very secure relationship, secure functioning relationship.
It can if there's the awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Awareness is
often
key.
what happens is, and it was so funny, I can't remember if it was that article, Shirley, or another article I read that talked about, you know, on a first date, you should actually ask, you know, how crazy are you?
Right.
As opposed to saying, you know, oh, what do you like? You know, really, my mom used to always say, you know, is your neurosis something I can live with? And vice versa.
That
It's the
is
truth.
Is your neurosis something
I can live with?
Well, it's true, because we all have it. You know, we all
Right.
bring our baggage, and we all, you know, dump it on the other person as they dump it on us. You know, it's how to work through it. I mean, that's the key. How can we work through that? How can I help you with your neurosis? How can you help me with my neurosis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because again, ultimately for healing and growth, you know,
Absolutely.
is why we come in here to do this work. And the other thing about, I want to say this about a spiritual marriage, is that it's an acceptance that the relationship is, it's an acceptance that there's, you know, a kindness and a gentleness about it.
Yeah.
It's just different than a normal relationship.
Right.
There's caring, there's genuine concern, you know, and there's this gentleness that comes with that.
Well, and that's what, you know, that's why it's so important to expect the expected. If we are born to believe that it's happily ever after, once I get married, you know, my life is going to change,
Oh, my
everything's going to be
goodness.
great, then
Yeah.
we set ourselves up for huge disappointment.
Huge.
You know, the best person, this article says, the best person suited for us is not the person who shares our every taste, because that's almost impossible, but it's the person who can negotiate difference in taste intelligently. The person who's good at disagreement, you know, you know, Stan Tatkin, Dr. Stan Tatkin is a gentleman that I've studied for many years with on couples counseling. It's not so much how much conflict a couple has, it's how they resolve conflict.
Oh,
Because
right.
you might have two high conflict people in a relationship, but they resolve it well. That's just the way that they talk, they emote, they, you know, it's how we resolve conflict is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when I say the word marriage, what does it bring up for you, Shirley?
Well,
Let's
okay,
get
you're
personal
outing
here.
me. Thank you very much,
you can out
Kel.
me.
But, you know, hey, I always said I'm going to be honest. It's interesting because I guess I haven't, you know, gone into the depths of it, because my parents were married, you know, until my mother passed away. No one smoked or drank, or there was no chaos. In fact, there was nothing. It was kind of a barren, you know. But every time I thought of marriage, literally the vision of a noose coming behind me and just, you know, doing that. I would always have that vision. So it was something, I never wanted to do it.
Oh my God! And you know what my vision is? Prison.
We're great to talk about marriage.
We should not be talking about marriage.
But, well, and you came from a divorce family, and I
did.
didn't. So
I
I
did.
don't know that it really matters that, because my daughter, on the other hand, you know, wants to, you know, just got engaged.
Right,
really happy about that.
congratulations, yeah.
And wants to be married forever. And,
And my
if
daughter
that's-
too. She is married. She loves it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if that's
Where these kids come from?
I know, right?
I don't know. So confusing.
But if that's that's great for them. I mean, that's wonderful. I must have seen something with my parents that I was picking up on that didn't feel safe because, ultimately, marriage is your next attachment connection. The first one is our parents. More often than not, the primary attachment is mom, usually, just because we've been in her belly and we recognize her heartbeat and her tone, and then dad as well. And the partner is the next attachment figure, and so it has to feel safe above and beyond anything else. That connection has to feel safe. I have to feel like you're going to back me up. You can disagree, but I have to feel like you have my back and I have your back. If there isn't safety in that partnership, in that agreement, then it's two people that are kind of parallel, and then you have then thirds can come in.
Well, let me ask you this though on that topic: what happens when initially you project on that there's safety? You project it. Oh, I feel safe here. I feel safe, and then that person turns on you.
Well, I would be curious to explore what about it felt safe. It could be that familiarity that you're that you're kind of noticing from that untangible place. But if you came from a chaotic past, then it may feel safe because it's familiar, but not because it's actual safe.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And so if someone were to come in, and I have had people come in, at the beginning it was great, and I felt really safe, then I'll explore it. What about it felt safe? And more often than not, we find that as we kind of go into the background, the childhood wasn't safe.
Yeah.
So this person ended up not being safe. I mean, how many people do you see get together with someone who can't, who has intimacy issues and can't, what's the word? Do a lifelong
commitment.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Apparently,
I was blocked too.
Apparently, my head's out my butt.
No, you're thinking of the noose, and I'm thinking of the prison.
So it's not coming out. But how many people, who can't commit, and in their childhood, dad left or mom left, and
Very
so
true.
the experience of someone committing. So we have to look at not to blame. We never look at the past to blame. Everybody did the best that they can or could, but it's to understand, and like you said, that awareness is key.
Awareness is everything.
Yeah.
And again, as you get a little older and you get a lot more awareness, really pay attention when you meet somebody. If is this a potential person you'd want to be with? Really pay attention to your gut. Really listen to your intuition.
Yeah. Stan Tacken always says, because me being of avoidant attachment, I never wanted anybody in my family to meet who I was dating right away. It would be, until I decided, okay, I'm going to, He says your friends should meet the person that you're dating right away because they may pick up on something you may not be picking up on. So if all your friends say, I don't really trust this person, or they're rubbing me wrong, then you need to pay attention because it may be familiar to you, again, but not the greatest thing, but your friends don't have the same, past that you have, and so they might pick up on it sooner.
It's interesting. Would you ever do that? Well, let me meet the next one,
I'd
Cheryl.
have to answer that if my goal was to meet someone to
What if your
marry.
friends are psychics?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, definitely.
Cheryl, run.
No, you know what? I actually would because I'd want to know the opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I'm, that my goals right now are to meet someone to eventually marry. So
Do you find I find this in my practice, and I think we've talked about this before, but I find a lot in my psychic practice. Well, when will I meet somebody?
yeah.
When will I meet somebody? I mean, how important is that, do you think, to everybody out there to actually have that?
Well, I think that, we're innately programmed to connect. We are relational beings. All mammals are, like dogs. You can't leave them alone too much. They need to, they need to be around people, and we're mammals too, so we need to connect. So I think it's more, my feeling of it is more coming from my, childhood experiences, and we can call it, traumatic experiences too, because trauma isn't just the big deal traumas that we used to think they were. It's less, I guess it's more how we're built to want to connect with people. So it's not always, so the way that I'm thinking is not exactly, the way we're built necessarily from a nervous system standpoint.
And that's the way you look at it. And the way I view it from a spiritual standpoint is why this person? What is my connection to this person?
Yeah.
And everybody comes into your life for a reason.
Sure.
Everybody.
Yeah.
For whatever it could be. But I'm wondering, particularly in a partnership, in a marriage, I mean, that's a deep relationship. It's a deep karmic situation that brings about change. And change, I have to say, is good. It can be difficult, and I know I've been in difficult marriages. And then once you realize for yourself that it's wrong, you need to get out.
Or try to work on it.
Well, that's true. I always forget that part. Yeah. Well, some people you actually cannot work. Actually,
well, no, they can't. But I get a lot of people, and I believe the same thing, that you try everything that you can before you get out. So when you get out, you can walk away saying, "Okay, I tried it all." Right. And people, have still in our culture, we don't believe that going to therapy at the beginning is a good idea. We still think that, and they went to therapy early on, they must not be doing well. You actually should go to therapy when you're doing well, because you're building a strong foundation to be able to, fight fairly, fight respect,
being able
with
to
respect.
Disagree.
Exactly.
And conflict resolution is really important.
Exactly. So, because you're talking, getting two people from two completely different walks of life, even if you come from the same culture and live next door, the world inside is completely different. Your genes are different, So too many people wait until there's too much water under the bridge. Yeah. And there's a lot of resentment, and resentment kills. Oh. Resentment is the killer of attraction, of sexuality, of, that feeling that you have for that other person. Oh, yeah. Resentment will kill it every time. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you start to feel resentment, then you need to do some work right away. Yeah. Get in touch with the awareness that you are resentful.
I used to, absolutely. And figure out why and find out, it's so funny when I was in my 20s and 30s, I would think, every time it happens, I'm dating somebody, and then at the end I would be like, when every little thing bothers you, it's like the breathing in and out. Why does he have to breathe?
I used to say, why does he have to come home? What's up with that? I got to get out of here.
That's so funny. But, there's wonderful tips out there. I was reading, Gary Chapman wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages, and it's been a bestseller for like the last 8 years. He's one of the most well-known couples counseling, couples therapists.
What's his name again? Gary what?
Gary Chapman.
Chapman, okay.
And he wrote, that you have to figure out what makes your partner feel loved. Is it words? Is it spending time together? Is it kind acts? Is it sex? Is it gifts? Many times we give to our partner what we would like to receive and not necessarily what they want. So it's so important to really get to know your partner. Oh, thank you, John. He put it up on the screen. It's really important to get to know your partner and know what they're interested in.
So true.
And have a discussion about that. What feels good to me? What feels, what makes me feel like you see me? Because that's at the core of attachment, is feeling felt by someone else. Wow.
And that leads to feeling safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then that brings trust.
Right. Right. Yeah. And trust is...
that's a foundation.
Yeah. Trust is the foundation, I think. And not trust necessarily about, monogamy. It's just, can I trust this person to have my back? Yes. What happens a lot is when we don't have that awareness, the person that we marry or that we are in a relationship with turns out to be the person I need to protect myself from. Oh. Because I begin to project all my attachment stuff onto them.
So the person that you are afraid of?
The person that I feel I need to protect myself from if I came from an abusive or chaotic childhood. Because my attachment figures, my mom and dad, are the two people that I should trust implicitly with my life. And so if I came from abuse or chaos, then that sets the seed. I can't trust people. And so then I, form a partnership with you, and then you become that person I can't trust. Wow. Do you remember that song? I've heard it a couple of times on the radio, I think maybe in preparation for the show. Boy George, Karma Chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
There's a thing, every day seems like survival. You're my lover, not my rival. And it explains that piece right there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that the same, are you saying, as picking somebody as a sociopath?
Yeah.
So what happens when that happens, when that occurs?
From a psychological standpoint, I'm really curious to hear your the spiritual, possible explanation for it. Sociopaths, they're very charming. And I remember your mom when we were, when she was mentoring me, she goes, "Oh, honey, I still get bamboozled by them once in a while,
Yeah.
They're so charming. What you really need to look at, Stan taught me this, they have what's called a reptilian gaze. So if you look in their eyes, it's almost like there's nothing behind the eyes. There's no soul. You know, they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. So many times, sometimes you can tell by looking at their eyes. But they're very charming, so it's very difficult to, you know, and then once we form that emotional connection and we're in love, it's so hard to get out, even though we may start seeing the red flags.
Well, and that's the other thing. So if you're coming from a place of your, you know, higher chakras, your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th chakra, you really have to look really at this person in a deeply awareness way where you're saying, who is this person? If you can't let your lower chakras get involved in that, like the charm and the this, you kind of have to push all that away. It's really a test to see where you are in your own personal awareness. And yes, all of us can get fooled. We have a dear friend that recently was. Yeah. I mean, it all of us can get fooled. But also, here's another thing too. If you are having needs, let's say you have a need, I need to marry a man with money. You better really think about that. You better really think about what you are wanting. Yeah. Because you might sell yourself way short on that. You might be actually picking a sociopath. You know, this guy's going to take care of me. Oh, really? So it's really about your own self-worth, your self-esteem, what you can do for yourself, how far you can go in your life.
And that goes for men too, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, the power structure is very different between men and women. You know, for men it's power is money, right? And for women it's beauty. Right. You know, so there's many men who want, you know, a beautiful gal that's beautiful, you know, and it may turn out to be something that they didn't.
Well, you know, power in a marriage is a big topic too. I mean, power struggle. Right. Power. Can you share the power? Can you say what you need to say?
Right.
Can you listen?
And really listen for dynamics if it turns into mother-son.
Oh, yeah.
Or mentor-student, teacher-student, or, you know, father-daughter.
Father-daughter, yeah.
It's really important to get out of those dynamics. So if you find yourself having to repeat to your spouse, you know, did you do this? Did you do this? You know, if there's an agreement for you guys to do something, maybe you wanted your husband to take this course, or maybe he wanted you to, you know, that's already known. Being supportive of someone is very different than telling someone, nagging someone, and turning that dynamic into, again, you know, authority, and the you know, and the student. So it's really important to notice if you're in that dynamic and really sit and have a conversation. If you need to take it to therapy, to switch that dynamic, because it really needs to be an even partnership. Each of you may be good at different things. You know, and that's
I was
wonderful.
Going to say, and not one person can fulfill every single thing. Yeah. I mean, that's childish.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're all humans having this experience, and I would say, you know, on a spiritual level, you really are here to learn and grow. What have you learned about yourself? And it's always about yourself. What have I learned about myself? Yeah. And so you can't beat yourself up if you've had a divorce or a separation. What have you learned? Right. What would you do differently going forward? Right. It's all about growth.
Well, it really is. And understanding, you know, again, that piece that you said, Kelly, which is so important, is awareness. I mean, I know that in relationships, I'm of avoidant attachment. If I automatically believe that I can't trust others, then I'm not going to give myself in a relationship. And that's going to cause the other person not to feel safe. They may not know why, you know, and so we all have our contributions to it. So it's really being able to kind of really understand what you may be contributing possibly in behavior to cause the other person to then, you know, be responding to that in a way that maybe isn't helping you feel safe, and so it kind of, you know, becomes like this hamster wheel.
It's this karmic wheel. Actually, and you really, our goal here, everybody, is to jump off this karmic wheel. You know, so if you can, you know, really pay attention to your choices, pay attention to your awareness, pay attention to what your thoughts are when you're with this person. You know, before you even settle down to get married, learn about yourself. And if you're already in a marriage, really start to learn about yourself. Does this person give me freedom? Because that is huge. Freedom is huge. Remember, the noose in the prison. I mean, oh, God. Yeah. Freedom is, to me, it's critical.
Well, being able to have, you know, independence within that interdependence. You know, that I think that you should have as a couple. There should be a level of interdependence with each other, you know. But even Freud called it in the 1800s repetition compulsion. We have the compulsion to repeat our past in order, because we think that if we can, that if we that we can, come through it. But unless both,
unless you have awareness.
Unless you have awareness and you're both kind of wanting to heal your own wounds and each other's wounds and help each other and be supportive that way, then you're just repeating the same pattern over and over again.
Right. And if you continue with the lower chakras, the first, the second chakra is money, sex. What can they do for me? If you're stuck in that mode, I got to tell you, you're going to continue to pick the same type of people. You're swimming in the same pool.
Yeah.
You got to come out and meet somebody that has a more awareness. Oh, good. You put that up there. It's very true.
Chakras, yeah.
Got to get some self-awareness for growth in this dimension and in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And everybody that you are with is somebody you can learn about yourself from.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're projecting things onto them and they're projecting things onto you.
The mirrors.
Absolutely. It could be an incredible growth experience that can lead into this very kind of, connected, committed, healthy relationship that can last forever. There's also,
Can we explain that a little bit, though, about the whole mirror thing? Because I think people get kind of confused. Like, so something happens with, like, say you're with a partner who's very, very selfish, and you're not selfish. So, what are you seeing about yourself if you know you're not selfish, but your partner's selfish? What are you? What?
Well,
how does that work?
Well, are you just a giver, pleaser, giver, pleaser? Is that your role, giver, pleaser? And then what does it feel like to ask for something? Because it's a role. You can get out of that role. It's probably going to feel uncomfortable, because if you are a giver, pleaser, you're going to feel uncomfortable asking for something. But those people that are takers are not going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to be shocked if you ask. So it's really about getting some enlightenment for yourself. Do I want to continue this pattern that I'm on? Speaking up for yourself, speaking up for your rights, speaking up for, you're not a doormat.
Yeah. I mean, if you're kind of, in that piece of awareness, you may have had a parent who was somewhat, self-absorbed and didn't tune to your needs. And maybe that's so you're used to not having needs or shutting them down and always taking care of someone else's needs. And so it presents a wonderful opportunity for you to learn how to set boundaries and for you to ask for what you need, for you to even discover what your needs may be. Sometimes you don't even know what your needs are. Right. So it presents a wonderful opportunity. And if
it presents a whole new energy, John, if you even allow yourself to do that. It actually, the energy opens up, and all of a sudden you're going to start to feel different, and then that person is going to, either accept or not accept or whatever, but it's the individual growth that comes from that is exponential. It's huge to ask for what you need.
Absolutely. And, it depends on how you present it to the other person. When they say communication is an art, that is so true. If we present things in an accusatory manner, that's going to cause the other person's nervous system to need to protect and defend. If we present it, with curiosity,
your
right?
big word, yes,
which is always, then it leaves the nervous system of the other person open to hear what you have to say.
No, I love that. And it's always stuck with me when you said curiosity.
Yeah. So that person may want to, explore that and change.
So you just say, I'm just curious. Is that how you start the conversation? Like, I'm just curious why.
I'm curious about, or I wonder about, and that person may not want to change. And so that's when you need to make maybe a difficult decision, but that person may want to change. And so, so you can grow together.
Again, it goes back to, is your neuroses something, or his neuroses something that I can live with? And often their neuroses is they're very selfish. Is that something that you can live with?
Yeah.
Now, that's a tough one. I can't do that one.
Well,
I've done it.
And for some people, that's just kind of because they were maybe an only child and the parents did everything for them, and so they didn't really realize that they were being selfish.
In some people, and in some people, it's a real personality disorder.
Well, the personality disorder.
I'd say
that's
run.
Yeah.
But then that's what I was asking about the mirror. So if they're mirroring back to you, aren't you seeing yourself in them?
How would you explain that?
Because that's what's confusing to me. Because a mirror, if you're looking, you're seeing yourself, right?
So say again what you.
So when you say we're mirroring people's behavior, or when we're with someone, they're just mirrors in our lives. So I'm saying, so when you look in a mirror, you're seeing your reflection reflected back at you. So if you're not the selfish one, but you're seeing your partner is selfish, why are you?
So what he or she may be mirroring back is your need to stand up for yourself and your need to.
So not necessarily that you're the selfish one.
No.
Okay.
No.
So the mirror is not that the person that's looking at the mirror is not the one that's the selfish one.
No, it could be, they could be mirroring a lot of different things. They could be mirroring what you need to work on, what
Yes.
what doesn't come easy
What
to
lesson is
Right.
available for you?
Because when I just think of mirror, I'm thinking, well, I look at a mirror, I'm looking right at myself.
Right,
Not
right.
at, like, the person's not even there.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. No.
okay.
A lot of times it's that. Many times, you're projecting onto them something that is about you. And that's something to take a look at. I'll never forget. I was in my somatic experiencing training, and they said, and it was the last year, and so it's a big group. It was about 50 or 60 people, and they said, about the fourth or fifth day, they said, choose someone in this group that you can't stand or that drives you nuts. You probably don't know them, but somebody rubs you wrong. That will happen always. So choose that person that rubs you wrong, and then we went into dyads.
That had to
and we
be
had
interesting.
to explore.
Oh.
There was this
Wow.
one guy who I never met the whole time I was there, and I couldn't stand. I just had these strong feelings about, look at him. Yeah. And so I worked it, and you tune in, and you notice where those feelings comes from, and up popped. He was very loud and very comfortable with attention, and so that part, because I didn't feel comfortable, with attention, that bugged me about him.
Yeah.
But that was actually something that I wanted to be comfortable with attention,
Right.
and didn't have, and so that's why that bugged me about him.
I remember that story you told me too, where you were at an event and somebody was bringing pillows and they were getting really, really comfortable.
Oh, the
and
self-care,
really self-care
and
thing.
oh my
And really
God,
tripping.
the blankets and the pillows and the little head thing. And I'm like, really? You really? And I did the same thing, because now it tells me, okay, I may still not like that, but why am I so upset?
Yeah.
Other than an annoyance.
So what triggers you? Yeah.
What triggered me
Yeah.
was that I would never take care of myself like that. I was never taught to. So for me to put a little pillow for my feet, and then a little one for my head, and then a little blanket, and then I was like, and so what do I do is when I go places, if I feel like I'm going to need something for myself, then I just take it.
Yeah.
And if that brings attention to me, now I'm comfortable because I work through the projection of the guy.
Right.
There's always something to be learned about ourselves
Yeah.
when we have strong feelings about someone else, and particularly if we don't even know them.
Well, and I think there are those strong feelings with regards to marriage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know for me, it brings up a lot of intense feelings. I didn't have such good marriages. So, and I know that I'm in an incredible relationship now. And it was so funny. I actually said to Don before I left, I said, just for the record, our topic today is marriage. And he goes, whoa, he even said that. So we're on the same page. We were supposed to get married next month, but we had so many situations that we actually couldn't. We have to postpone it.
Well, but given to the energy that you're talking about, maybe it wasn't a great time to do it now.
You're absolutely right. It probably wasn't. I had too many things going on. But, some people would have just pushed through. Oh, I want to get married. Don and I are like, we both done it. We love each other so much.
Well, you've been together how long now?
13 years.
Yeah, wow. That's a long time.
So a long time, and we love each other so
And
much.
live together, so it's pretty much you're already married.
Yeah. Except for that, it's funny when you say that piece of paper, that whole thing. For me, I go, oh,
Yeah.
It just brings up stuff.
Yeah.
It just does. Marriage does.
What about
Funny
the
word.
religious aspect to it?
Oh gosh,
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
It gives me even more than heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're
The
right, it
spiritual
does.
union, as they say, right?
Well, see, and I love the spiritual union, not the religious part of it. I love the spiritual aspect of it.
I think you already have that spiritual
Oh,
union.
Yeah.
John and I have such a
Between
spiritual
the two of you.
relationship. It's extraordinary, truly extraordinary.
Who would you have? Would you be like a universal church or how?
Oh, it was already going to be.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Yes, we have actually. In fact, we have the whole thing planned. Oh, we have a fabulous man that's going to marry us. He's a spiritualist and just incredible. I mean, a real, true, incredible, gentle soul. So we're looking forward to it.
So,
But we just had too
yeah.
many situations during this period of time.
I always think that's very interesting too when you have two couples with two different backgrounds, religious backgrounds.
Yeah.
and
Well,
how
I
they
was
get along.
raised,
Yeah.
Jewish and Christian, and it was a.
And what about Dawn?
I think he was Catholic, and then became a Christian.
He's Italian, so he
He's
had to have been
Italian.
Catholic.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah.
But he's a spiritualist,
Great.
so and that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I think it goes above and beyond, you know, kind of,
Yeah.
you know, what we call man-made religions to just say it's a partnership. It's a, you know, and the most important thing again is to feel safe in it.
Yeah.
So some couples act as if divorce isn't an option to create that safe space to be able to kind of work through whatever issue shows up. So if we take divorce off the table, one of the worst things you can do is threaten divorce. The only time to threaten divorce is if you're actually going to go do it. But threatening divorce causes an unsafety to just be there. And without that safe feeling, with, you know, attachment is all about safety, then it's going to be really hard to work through issues. Safety is the first thing to create in a, you know, in a partnership when you're with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true. You know, and I was going to mention there's a great book here for spiritual relationships. For I thought this, John, you might want to post this.
Sure.
Illuminating the Heart: Steps Towards a More Spiritual Marriage. And I thought this was very interesting because they asked, you know, some of the ideas to try. What can we learn here? So again, you're in a relationship with somebody. What can I learn here? And I'll go further. What am I learning? What have I learned? Where are we going?
Yeah.
And not in a negative way, but where do we see ourselves? You know, let's allow some expansion here. Which is the next one, is look for opportunities for growth and closeness that may be hidden behind the obstacle. So often we'll get stuck with obstacles.
Yeah.
You know, well, we don't have the money to buy that house, and then people go down that road. Again, lower 4 chakras. Let's go up the higher chakras. Let's be grateful. Let's have gratitude for, look, we both have our health. This is so great.
Yeah.
Believe me, it actually is. And then you find ways to stay on the same side in dealing with the problem. If you can, find ways to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
And all of those things will help. But I would always aim for a spiritual connection through the heart that goes up. You know, not just the lower chakras. It's not just about the money, the greed, the passion.
Is that the book? Okay.
That's
Yeah.
great.
It's really about let's have our growth exponential in this lifetime. Let's really use this lifetime wisely.
and understanding
And
the-
it's limited. You know, we only have a certain amount of time here.
Yeah.
The more you screw up with, or you stay in a marriage that is just not going to happen.
Right.
It's just not good for you. I think you're wasting your time spiritually.
Yeah, well, and I think in all areas you're wasting your
A
time.
lot of people, though, stay in for the kids, right?
They do. I was one of them. I get that. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of clients that do. And I understand that too. I mean, there are reasons for all of that. You know, it's easier for me to speak now from where
Yeah.
I am now than
Yeah.
where I was younger.
Yeah,
Because I know my mom has a lot of regret about divorcing my father.
Really?
Yeah.
Like guilt, regret?
Guilt and regret.
Oh, yeah, there's a
because
lot of
there
guilt
was
in
a
that.
whole chain of events that happened as a result of getting with my stepfather.
Oh.
So she's never been able to forgive herself for that.
Oh, for anybody out there that's suffering from that, you
Yeah.
know, really, it's okay. It's okay.
we all
It's
do the
okay to
Yeah.
move on. It's
Yeah.
okay to
Yeah.
let go.
we all do the best we can.
We do
in
the
that
best
moment.
we can. We make
Yeah.
choices at that
Yeah.
moment. I would say try to be more clear with your choices now going forward.
Yeah.
Have the awareness of what you're choosing, and really
Yeah.
don't choose from a childish standpoint. I need my need met now.
Right. Or kind of a fantasy standpoint. I mean,
fantasy,
you know,
yeah.
we think about from a spiritual standpoint, it's my soulmate. You know?
Oh my
And
God, we got to address that issue.
Let's do that
Oh, I
because
call them cellmates. I have an actress that told me that, and I was like, that is so true.
that is so
Cellmate.
funny.
Well, because a soulmate is somebody you're going to learn from. Why did you attract that person in?
Yeah.
I don't even care if it's abuse. If it's abuse, you attracted in. What are you learning? Did you learn that it's time to leave? Did you learn that it's not good for you? Did you learn you're not a victim any longer?
That is so true.
I mean, I can look at it any which way.
Right. Well, they say we have this like romanticized idea about
it's all
soulmates, you know?
romanticized,
and it's a
yeah.
soulmates are crafted. They're not. They don't just show up. You know, to feel like you have the soulmate with the definition that we believe that word is,
Right.
is you've worked on the relationship. You've developed a very safe environment between you and that person, and that to me is what a soulmate would be. And it's not necessarily a spiritual thing. It's what I've created.
It's
in
what
this
you have
lifetime.
created.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think a soulmate is somebody that comes into your life, and we'll have several of them in our lifetimes, several, that come in for a reason, a season, a time. I mean, they come in for whatever.
And not necessarily a lover. There could be a best friend.
Could be
it
a best friend.
A
It could
teacher.
be anything.
Yeah.
But if they happen to be a lover and they come in, what are
Yeah.
you learning from this person?
Yeah.
What are they learning from you? What is the connection? What's the karmic connection?
Do you believe in twin flames?
Well, the twin flames is often, from what I understand about it, that's literally another half of you that is on either the other side waiting for us. You know, I don't know. I don't know how to address that. Do you?
Well, we've done some shows about that here at UBN, and I do. Yeah,
You do?
I do.
Okay.
What are
but
they?
Twin flames are the other half of you, basically, and like Kelly said,
And some of you come here.
Yeah.
Sometimes, every once in a while, you'll see. This is what the lore is. You'll see the other side of you. You'll meet somebody who's like, oh my God, this person is the other half of me.
Like
Yeah.
they complete
It's my,
you.
Yeah, somebody that completes you. That's the word.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we can only complete ourselves.
yeah, because we're two wholes coming together to form something beautiful, not something that's
And that's
Right,
why
like I
people
was
are always
lacking.
looking.
Right,
But you're
yeah.
lacking.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but the twin flame can also incarnate, from what I understand, in this lifetime with you, and it's happening more and more than it has in the past. But for the most part, most of them are on the other side and are helping you from the other side.
waiting for us.
and waiting for
to
you
return.
be reunited.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, how sweet.
yeah.
That's,
So maybe as a spirit, I'll get married and it won't feel.
Yeah.
there you
full.
go.
You know, it doesn't anymore. I mean, I've done a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, just a few tips to help. You know, if you're in a marriage and it's not going great, you know, it's learning to apologize and forgive.
Oh, forgiveness, number
yeah.
one. Forgiveness, huge.
Learning how to fight fair.
Yes.
You know, find shared interests. You know, that you can do together. We don't so much, you know, spend that much time sharing something. We spend together time, you know, talking about our finances, talking about what isn't going right. And we don't spend enough time, you know, couples
Enjoying
don't spend
each
enough
other.
time enjoying
Yeah.
each other, doing something that
Yeah.
that you share. You know, John Gottman is one of the,
Oh, yeah.
you know, most well-known researchers in couples counseling. He's up north, and he actually has like an apartment that's all, you know, with cameras and stuff, and couples will go in there. And he says that in the first 3 minutes, he can tell if a couple's going to stay together or not. And he calls it, you know, it's the 4 horsemen. He says when these 4 horsemen are there, the couple's probably
What
not
book is
going to
this
make
from, or do you have a book
it. It
for
is, you know, look him up. He's got a lot of books.
John
Okay.
Gottman,
Okay.
Gottman.
So criticism is one of the 4 horsemen. It's when you criticize your partner, you're basically implying that there's something wrong with them, you know, and you use the words you always and you never. And that's an important thing, you know, with communication. It's important to not always say always and never, because more likely than not, it's not always and never.
Right.
You know, and so learn how to express what you need from the person, or what maybe is bothering you from someone, by talking about the behavior and not in a critical way.
Yeah.
Is an important step. Defensiveness. It's when you attempt to defend yourself from a perceived attack with a counter complaint. You know, that's the thing that I hear a lot with couples. You know, where they say, you know, when you don't come home, you know, show up on time for, you know, for dinner, whatever. Well, but you don't, you know, and it's okay. That's issue number 2. Let's go back to issue number 1 and address that, and then we'll address issue number 2. But when you throw too many things in the pot, it's just
So
there's nowhere to go.
the argument's usually over lack of respect because they don't show up on time and don't want to eat the dinner, or
Well, so if someone is saying, you know, John, when you do X, Y, Z, it really makes me feel, you know, whatever. And then you say, well, but you do that. It could be something completely unrelated, but you're kind of just
Deflecting
being defensive.
or whatever?
You're
Yeah.
defending yourself
Okay, got it,
by
yeah.
pointing out something that you're
Right.
doing to me. You know, contempt. That he says, if that one's there, that's
Oh.
really the worst one.
So that's the last of the 4 horsemen. Contempt is the last
That is,
one?
yeah, any
Yes.
statement, you know, or nonverbal behavior that puts yourself on a higher ground than your partner. It's mocking your partner, calling them names, rolling your eyes, sneering at them in disgust. You know, of all the 4 horsemen, he says contempt is the most serious. You know,
Yeah.
I could see that.
because that's kind of
yeah.
you're kind of like you're disgusted. There's
Yeah.
Right.
disgust in contempt.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so it's really
Well,
important.
and you know,
to,
and if you're an HSP in a
Ooh.
marriage, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that
Highly sensitive person.
highly sensitive person,
Yeah.
and you've
Yeah.
got contempt with the other person, or
Mm-hmm.
woo.
yeah,
I mean, you're
that's
going to walk
tough
around with
one.
a stomach ache all the time, right?
True.
I mean, you're going to feel awful.
And I put up his book, The 7 Principles for Making
Oh.
Marriage Work.
Oh,
that's
that's a
just
great
one of
book.
them.
Great,
Yeah,
great
that's
book.
a great book.
And stonewalling happens when the listener withdraws from the conversation. A stonewaller might actually physically leave, or they just may stop talking. Many times this happens because the person is overwhelmed and doesn't know how to respond. So part of understanding your partner is also understanding their nervous system. And Stan Tatkin has a wonderful book, Wired for Love.
Okay.
And it really teaches you, he calls them, it comes from attachment theory, and he calls them 3 different. You're the island, which is the avoidant. You're the wave, which is more the ambivalent, the more anxious, the more, and then the anchor, which is the secure. So understanding, am I an island? Are you a wave? And how do those two communicate? And what do I need? And I need more, alone time or more time to gather my thoughts because I get overwhelmed. And so many times what may look like stonewalling is just someone feeling so overwhelmed they can't really speak. So in that case, it's important to choose a word that kind of neutralizes everything, like pineapple, and it means we're gonna kind of take some time.
The safe word.
And the safe word, right. And then we're going to come back and talk about it.
Yeah.
The person who uses that word is the responsible one to coming back, because it's not about them not talking about it, But the nervous system, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to calm down. And you need to be talking when you're both like this, not when you're dysregulated. Right. When Stan talks about when your partner's dysregulated, the most important thing to do is to help them regulate so you can continue the conversation. Because if if the person's up here, the thinking part of the brain has gone offline, and you're really not. Now you're just throwing, criticisms to each other and that kind of thing. So it's really important to do that. What do I know calms you down? Maybe if I put my hand on your knee. Maybe touch, I know, calms you down, and so I'll try that. So it's really getting to know your partner, from who they are, not from who you want them to be.
Exactly, not who you project on them.
Yeah.
It's really who they are, because that is the key to everything. It's really funny, like we were talking about. You actually, so you go on a date with somebody, ask them. I dare you, ask them. What's the matter with you? I'd like to know.
Right. What's the neurosis that I can live with? Yeah.
And then pay attention if this person says, well, I'll tell you, I do this too much.
It's like an interview.
It's
a
an
job interview.
No, but a lot of people will tell you
They will.
what they are. And then we tend to, because we really want, we're projecting our own stuff on them.
But he's got so much money. Oh, no, I'll pretend. Oh, no, that's not really what happened. Oh,
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. Pay attention.
Part of the problem with social media is it makes it much easier to seek support, in conversation elsewhere in other
So
places
true.
instead of going to our spouse, particularly if our spouse, if the communication isn't great, then it's so easy now to just go onto social media and feel that connection, but you really need to do it with your spouse.
Oh, yeah.
You really need to find a way to feel heard, to feel seen.
And there's always 2 sides.
Oh, yeah. Well, both of them. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also, to have the awareness, I really want to go back to that, to have the awareness that you're here for a short amount of time in this dimension. Make the best of it. Really learn what you can about yourself through the other person.
Yeah. So we hope that if you have any questions about marriage that maybe we can help answer, please go to our Facebook or go to Twitter.
There's a reason you chose that person.
Yeah, or call in. We take call-ins every week. Today we just kind of got busy talking about the topic. But please, we welcome you to throw your questions or your comments on our social media pages.
And let's talk about our upcoming workshop.
Yes. It is July 16th and 17th, correct?
Yes.
It is basically just a combination of psychological and spiritual
growth.
To figure
Discover
out
your path.
Right, to figure out who you are, why you're
What's
here.
your soul's
and,
journey.
Yeah, and how to get there.
How to get there.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing readings.
So we hope that you join us. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kellee White.
2 perspectives, 1 world.